Welcome back to Mullen Lave Wargaming. We're playing War in the Pacific Admirals Edition with a play-by-email campaign playing as Japan in Scenario 1. We're now setting up the December 13th, 1941 turn. And it looks like things are about to blow up. So just getting right into it and starting with China, we're going to be making our second attempt on Hong Kong today. It's looking pretty good. The numbers last time around looked good. I'm not sure I'm going to take it this turn, but we should get a significant fortification reduction and probably good casualty numbers at the same time. Moving north up the coast, here between Hangzhou and Chuxing, we're in contact with an enemy unit. It's looks relatively small and weak, so we should pretty much blow them away. Coming up further north, we caught up with this unit. If memory serves, this is basically a nothing unit over here. Check on this guy crossing the river real quick. He's not crossing this turn. We're also in contact adjacent to Kaifeng. That's going to be an attack. We're attacking in division strength. So that should be pretty good. Up here I made a little bit of a mistake. This armored car unit has outpaced the infantry that was following it. Hopefully they don't notice and we don't suffer an attack yet, but we're going to be holding for the time being. We also have two divisions that have arrived over in Suzhou, and they're going to start making their way up, clearing this rail line as they go, to start to participate in the Kaifeng-Shengqiao operation. Plus we've got troops and tanks that have arrived here in Taiyuan, so they're going to be working on clearing this rail line and starting their advance towards Sian. So, all in all, big day expected for China. Over in Malaya, lots of troop movements going on right now. Imperial Guards Division has arrived in Kota Bharu, so they are unpacking and they're going to be using the roads to make their way over to Georgetown. I've halted the 42nd Infantry Regiment in this space. The reason why is I'm concerned that these four enemy units here at Alor Star might pack up and use that rail line, so I just want to make sure that somebody is sitting on it at all times, whether that's in this space or when we move somebody into Taiping. For now, the 1st Tank Regiment in Georgetown has been ordered to advance. The 56th Recon is sitting put for the time being, and while they're there, let's go ahead and send them to Singapore. But they need to sit to maintain the garrison for the time being. We've got an airfield construction battalion that's currently in Patani that's going to be rebased to Kota Bharu. And we have aviation support units that are going to be departing Kampan Track for Kota Bharu, and the 3rd Air Division is going to start rebasing to Kuantan. Kuantan's already a 4. The supplies are going to start coming up. The damage is moderate, and the additional troops that are heading that way are going to help with that. So Kuantan's going to be built up into a major air hub coming up. Of course, the big news in the theater is that the Mersing Gambit appears to be working. We did take some damage because we hit a mine. That was this ship, the Kinu. I'd call that moderate damage. It's slowed down a bit, probably listing, but still in the fight. Still capable of 20 knots, which is enough to keep up with the cargo ships that it was escorting, and the unloading's coming along. We still have some troops aboard. but significant amount of supplies already ashore, and that's going to continue. Well, when I say significant amount of supplies, maybe I talk too soon. These guys are short on supplies, but they'll be getting their supplies soon, and soon enough that I've already ordered them to attack. I'm expecting very little resistance from the units in Mersing. And then once they're done with that, the 5th Recon can go ahead and block the roads for me. Come to think of it. Yeah, no, I was going to say maybe I should put him in reserve to move him right into Shihore Baru, but with 10,000 troops there, that's probably not a good idea. But we should be able to defeat these guys pretty easily. They'll retreat to Johore, and then my recon unit will have a straight shot across to block the rail lines. Where we lost ships, so this is what's left of the detachment that suffered the airstrikes and the submarine attack. You can see the damage to the Arashio is basically superficial, just a little bit of system damage, otherwise minimal. So they're just going to rejoin the covering force that they split off from, and then that covering force is going to move back over to the Sarawak area. I've got some Nates ready to provide some air cover for them, so they're not being extended too much. But still, indications are for the moment that there's not a naval presence here that's going to push back hard against the Mersing operation. Of course, we still have our main covering force there with a battleship and 4 heavy cruisers, so it's not like I'm leaving them exposed. But I need to... It's worth splitting my forces, given the threat level as we see it right now. The other victim of a submarine was this task force here. They are transporting a small infantry unit. What would we even call this? I guess it's a third of a battalion, and they're going to be heading to Beaufort. So hopefully we didn't take too many losses, and that operation will proceed as planned in spite of the losses that we sustained. For the Sarum Sea area, the baby KB is going to push down a bit, since most of the ships are down here. Although I think the main airstrikes this turn are actually going to start coming from Babel Doab. We have 35 Nels there ready to go, and the 21st Air Division has arrived and is currently unloading. So my expectation is that by the time the Nels are ready to fly, they'll have torpedoes ready to be carried. So if these guys are trying to get out, moving east across the Papua New Guinea coast, they're going to get caught. And so is really anybody else in this entire region. They're now vulnerable to Betty attacks. So Baby KB is going to be taking a secondary role. Of course, we can advance them further, and if somebody wants to get out of the range of the Bettys, well, then we'll be ready to do something about that. Meanwhile, Carrier Division 2 is going to bump back a little bit north. One of their 0 squadrons has been ordered to do a sweep of Cagayan to try to cut down on the amount of P-40s that have been giving us a little bit of a pain in the region. And of course, any further task forces that are trying to evacuate, such as this one over by Leyte, should probably be picked off. We're still waiting for additional forces to take on Cagayan. That's going to be the Cure 1st SNLF, and they're probably about halfway to meeting up with the Kimura detachment. Over at Luzon, we have landings in progress over at Moalban. Not going to move out yet. We'll go ahead and resist this enemy unit when they arrive, and then we'll move west to cut off this rail line to make sure these units cannot assist in the defense of Manila, Clark, and Bataan. Speaking of those bases, at the moment, we're not seeing the large retreat that it looked like we were seeing initially. So just 2 units in Bataan as it stands, 15 in Clark, and 6 in Manila, making out for 17,000 troops. So it does look like Clark's going to be where they're making their stand, which makes sense. I think it's the better hex. But for now, we only have 1 unit reported in Lingayen, so pretty much everybody that's over in San Fernando is going to be moving out. And then San Fernando, since its airbase size is 3, compared to our other 2, which are both level 2, San Fernando is going to become our active airbase on Luzon in short order. So we're moving engineering units and other construction units there to build it up the rest of the way. Aviation support units are on the way, so we can start transferring aircraft from Vigan and Laog. Yeah, they've got an excess here, so that's not going to be a problem. We've landed in Kavieng and Wewak. We should be able to take both of those this turn. Our landing at Rabaul is about to take place, and I have noticed that they have a detection level. So we have been spotted. Is that going to lead to actual resistance? Who knows? In terms of supporting these task forces, we do have our heavy force here. Let's go ahead and rename these to Solomon's Heavy Cover. So they're basically arriving on station now. Shortland's unit is ready to land probably, let's see, they're 7 spaces away, they'll make 6, so they'll make landfall tomorrow, not today. Over in the Gilberts, we're starting to load troops back up, in particular at Jaluit. This unit's already assigned to Tulagi. We have enemy contacts on both sides of these islands, so we've got these 2 unknown contacts moving east from here, plus 2 unknown contacts moving east from here. So for the time being, these guys really should be getting attacked by, are these Nells or Bettys? They are Bettys. No, Nells. Just 2 Bettys. The rest are Nells. But they're in the crosshairs, so I don't know why we didn't attack them already. But to deal with them, I've dispatched the light cruiser Katori out of Kwajalein. Also, since the Tayo is passing through here, I've ordered the Tayo just to come over and kind of check it out. Maybe we can get some Claude strafing runs on whoever these guys are. Also note that we're pretty much ready to hit Wake. So here's our main force, and then of course our covering force is right here. And come to think of it, much better. Okay, so the covering force is set to do a bombardment due to the amount of resistance expected at Wake. Hopefully they'll switch to surface combat after that, and who knows, maybe they'll be happy to engage these guys afterwards. But for now, that's not happening. And as for the southern contacts, I'm just going to have the commerce raiders kind of ignore them, but the Kido Butai's right here, so I'm just ordering them to dip south a little bit, see if we can get an attack on them, but then whether we do or not, they're going to resume course to Truk after that little detour. Alright, well that's going to do it. I'll go ahead and close this out, and we'll see you for the combat replay and see how this goes. And we're back. Combat replay for December 13th, now in progress. Picking up a parry by proximity, I appreciate that. Ooh, who's this? Is that the Houston? Indeed it is. Well, so we didn't sink her earlier after all, but this should guarantee her destruction. A little surprised she's not shooting back yet. Oh, there we go. Who's going to be the first one to get through her armor? Oh, come on, don't let her open range. There we go, the battleships are shooting now. Tower armor. Deck armor. There we go. Okay. That was a primary battery hit. Belt armor, that's a water line. I think we got her. Yeah, she's sunk. Alright, it's a kill for the Hyuga. Apparently lots of shore defenses that need to be suppressed. And another tanker bites the dust. No, or maybe not. Not heavy damage, just heavy fires. Right off Batavia, there's a chance it could survive. Alright, let's get her. Alright, she didn't slip away yet. Slowed her down a little bit. Damn it. One of these days we'll sink a sub that's not in port. And we're going to have to pull our torpedo boat out of there if there's a sub there that we do... we don't have any ASW escorts with it. So that hit did not get through the armor. We're still good. week's coastal defense guns do not seem to be getting the job done. Perhaps the heavy cruiser's bombardment helped with that. Well, I guess the real test is going to be how bad is it going to get once they're shooting at transports instead of escorts. Yep, there's got a superstructure hit. Alright, not so bad, not so bad. So Yubari bounced one off its armor, and then we had a superstructure hit on one of the cargo ships transporting troops. Not bad at all. Alright, 8 squads destroyed coming out of the boats. See how much more effective these guns are during daylight. What's that, a coastal minesweeper? Patrol craft. And of course the battleships need to shoot at it. Oh, you're gonna use torpedoes on that little thing. Obliterated by 36mm hit. Well, at least that ended the waste of ammunition. Ah, shoot. Alright, we've had a cargo ship hit twice. That's gonna be a kill. No troop casualties reported, so this is a task force that is coming back from delivering troops in Malaya. Pretty well escorted, too. 3 destroyers and a DMS. Oh wow, it hasn't sunk yet. Oh, but they're gonna let him attack it again? Okay, so I think what happened is the cargo ship detached to go to Saigon, and then since it was detached, it no longer had any protection. So they sank it. Looks like the cap at Clark is a shadow of its former self. Though apparently still lethal, enough to shoot down to 0 in the beginning of this fight. Make that 2. And we didn't shoot down any of them. Well, in spite of our failures to shoot any down in the air, we are destroying aircraft on the ground, and it's more, I'm sure, than just these 2 aircraft that are reported destroyed. Decent amount of hits on the base. That's going to make it harder for them to keep aircraft up going forward. And of course, Cat trapped at Manila again. Lost 3 this time. Make it 4, 5, 6. Alright, so looks like we probably sank a sub at the cost of 7 Bettys. May not have been worth it. I think what I may have to do going forward is just restrict myself to bombing either Clark or Manila in a single turn to make sure I have sufficient escorts. Yeah, we cannot keep taking losses like this. Wow. So this is going to be a disaster of a day in the air. Alright, so 3 more buffaloes down out of 8. Wish we could have gotten more than that. And it cost us a 0. We get some payback for the Bettys. Apparently not. Here we go. Let's turn it around. These P-40s at Cagayan have been a pain in my ass. Come on, send more out. Yeah, keep sending. Yep, that's it. Keep sending them. Much better. 6 P-40s down for a loss of 1-0. 6 out of 9. Much better than we're doing up north. Whew. So I've brought these guys down to 15,000 feet, and they're still not doing a whole lot of damage. Heavy cloud, that's not awful weather. It's probably the same weather the Bettys had. Oh, because it's mostly Lilies. The Sallies didn't all arrive yet. That's why. The Lilies have a lighter bomb load. Here come the Sallies. Still seems like the Bettys did better. Right now, most of these airstrikes in China are targeting ground units that either are in contact with our troops or are expected to come into contact shortly. It'll be nice when I have enough Oscars to replace all the Nates that are on the front line. That day is not today. It's actually a little sad that for such a long time in the war, the Oscar's basically going to be the best option for the Japanese army. But Oscar development really is a dead end, in my opinion. No, we damaged a bunch. No shoot-downs, but maybe these damaged aircraft will crash on the way back. Well, this is the first sign of any real resistance in the Solomon region. 3 Hudsons getting nothing done. Ooh, just lost a cargo ship. If I had to take a guess, that guy ran aground. We'll have to see the ops reports to see what happened to him. Alright, so we wondered what happened to the Buffaloes that had escorted one of these Peace and Loke raids earlier. I guess we have our answer, and they just decided not to escort on one of the previous turns. Yeah, this is an interesting little fight between obsolete aircraft. Alright, got one of them. Rest turned back. And hopefully they'll crash when they try to land at a badly damaged Clark Air Base. Uh-oh. Oof. Yeah, that ship just got hit hard. Right, these are the guys that lost a ship to a submarine yesterday. Alright, so this is the enemy unit outside Hangzhou. They have no strength. All support units. I think this is a headquarters unit. 10th Group Army. Nope, they're able to retreat. So here's the big one, Hong Kong. Fortifications down to 1. Assault odds are still 1-1, which isn't great. Casualties look pretty good. They're outnumbering us in the top column, but we only have 2 squads destroyed to 29 destroyed for them. So assuming we need to, if we wait a little while, some of these disabled squads can be brought back into operation, and we should be able to overtake them. This should be a slaughter. Ooh, that's a very badly weakened core. Yeah, just 46 AV for this core. We did lose 1 squad, but they lost 51. And here's Mersing. Massive casualties here for the Allies. That should effectively end the usefulness of the 22nd Australian Brigade. Shock attack at Wake.
Hello, my misguided friends. This is your #1 enemy, Orphan Anne, from Radio Tokyo, with another blow to your morale and some music to console you. Today, the Imperial government announced that the ever-victorious forces of the Japanese Empire have captured Wake.
And on to Guam next. We do not take Kavieng. Assault odds 1 to 2. Casualties disproportionate on our side. And we have poor leaders, apparently. Just have 1 company defending. I don't know, I could always send more troops. I could also bombard them to get them over the top. This is our second attempt at Sambas. So it says we've reduced forts to 0, but it also says the forts were already 0. So that's a little confusing. 2 squads disabled for us, 4 for them. We'll get them. We'll get them eventually. Alright, let's go over the results of the turn before we close this one out. As you can see, we had a moderate victory point gain this turn, although I'm going to say the numbers are making it look a little bit worse than it really was, because we had already received credit for sinking the Houston, so when we sank it this turn, it really didn't cause an impact on the totals. That said, looking at the air losses for a little bit, I actually thought that this was going to turn out to be a disaster for us because of the amount of bomber losses we were taking, but it evened out for us in no small part because of the amount of Wildcats that we destroyed when we took Wake. So that evened that out quite a bit. So again, looking over the losses on our side, 7 Bettys is unacceptably high, and 5 zeros isn't that great either. Apparently we also lost a float plane to a cap somewhere. Didn't notice that happening. But then on the enemy side, relatively light fighter losses for the day. we need to do better. We definitely need to do better around Clark and Manila, where they're getting quite a few kills, and I think it's one of those situations where you start shooting down a lot of enemy aircraft, and the pilots that survive tend to be the better ones. So then the few planes that you face in the air tend to be expertly piloted. We still did kind of good evening it out with several shoot-downs over Cagayan, so not too bad. Overall, 34 to 16, I can't really complain too much about that. Ships lost, as mentioned earlier, we finished off the Houston and also picked off a PC in the vicinity of the Houston. On our end, we lost a cargo ship to an enemy sub off Indochina, and then that one over there indicated scuttled was actually an ammunition explosion that happened while it was in port. So, going over the individual theaters, in China, we had a visit from the Hudsons again over by Wuchang. That raid was ineffective as usual. At Shanghai, the 21st Division has been loaded onto a bunch of transport ships, and they're on their way to Bangkok. We had several land combats with 2 enemy headquarters units being routed. We also beat up on a badly damaged core outside of Kaifeng. I'm going to say that core is completely combat ineffective at this point. And then at Hong Kong, we didn't take it. Wasn't necessarily expecting that we would take it this turn, but forts are at level 1. We're maintaining 1-to-1 assault ratios, but we also have additional units that arrive this turn that can start contributing starting tomorrow if I decide to attack tomorrow. And the number of devices being permanently lost is favoring us by a wide margin, and then combat squads being disabled is favoring us by a small margin. So the writing's on the wall in Hong Kong. It's not going to hold off that much longer. Moving over to the Malayan Theater, we had a sub attack a tanker, making it burst into flames off Batavia. I think it probably sank, but we don't really know for sure. We spotted an enemy sub trying to approach the southern covering force. That sub got away, and then an enemy sub, as mentioned before, was able to sink one of our cargo ships off Sok Trung. Fortunately, that was a task force that was withdrawing from the area rather than transporting troops into the area, so the degree of the loss was less than it could have been. I'm a little frustrated with the amount of submarines that are being able to sit off that coast, and we can't seem to do anything about it. I have at least 2 squadrons on ASW duty. Of course, we don't really have ASW-trained pilots 1 week into the war, so that's an issue. And then I also have some patrol boats that are they're camped out in the correct hex as far as I can tell. And I was kind of hoping that between the ASW aircraft maybe not being able to actually attack, but at least spot the submarine, and then having the PBs come in based on the aircraft sighting, working together, we'd be able to force them out of the area. But so far, no luck. We also had enemy Blenheim raid on Pisanuloke again. That's at least the 3rd raid in recent days. But what's really significant about it is that the 11 Buffalo escorts that were missing last time showed up again this time. So that means those Buffaloes are still at Rangoon, and they're about to be more or less trapped there. Good news for us, although something that we're going to need to take into account if we want to start sending Nels or Bettys out to sink enemy ships approaching Rangoon. The task force that had lost a ship yesterday to an enemy submarine landed at Beaufort. Looks like that's proceeding as intended. We captured Mersing. In the process, we pretty much destroyed the 22nd Australian Brigade. 98 devices destroyed there, and I'm sure they're pretty much broken as they hang out in Johore Bahru. Last base that there was action in over here was Sambas over at the tip of Sarawak. It held off again, 1-to-1 assault odds, so it's looking pretty even, although for the moment we seem to be inflicting casualties at a slightly higher rate than the enemy. Turning over to the Philippines, kind of had the tale of two air raids going on again, with one Betty squadron getting some of the escorts and the other Betty squadron ending up unescorted. So at Clark, we had escorts. We ran into 3 P-40s. They still shot down 2 Zeros, but they never got to the Bettys. So we managed to blow up a few planes on the ground, just P-35s and O-47s as far as we can tell. Did light facility damage, and unfortunately didn't end up shooting down any of these P-40s. We just ended up more or less getting rid of them so that the follow-up raids didn't run into any opposition. Meanwhile, at Manila, they had the stronger of the 2 caps at 5 aircraft, and since we didn't have anyone escort, we ended up losing 7 Bettys, unacceptably high in my opinion, especially when you consider the air crews are almost certainly being lost with those shoot-downs, since they're being shot down over enemy territory. We had a follow-up sweep after that. Once again, my frustration with the sweep arriving second when it has nowhere near as far to fly, but I guess I can keep complaining about that all the time, and it's not going to change it. They only managed to damage the, I think they only sent up 1 P-40 to greet that sweep, and it was just damaged and it ran away. There's also an enemy air attack by P-35s at Vigan. We had some nates on cap there that was adequate to handle it. One enemy fighter was shot down. Then we had the ammunition handling mishap that I mentioned, and of course, as we're looking further south, it's not really on the first map, but it's kind of on the second, was Carrier Division 2's sweep of Cagayan. They had 9 P-40s on cap, and we got 6 of them at the price of 1 0. So that's much closer to what I'm looking to as far as results go. Can't complain about that. Also, the Celebes and Serum Sea area was where the Houston and the PC were gunned down by the heavy SAG that's patrolling that area. I got a torpedo boat well into the Serum Sea looking to maybe pick off some of the enemy ships that were working their way into that area. That torpedo boat does not have ASW capability, and we spotted an enemy sub in the area, so it's time to GTFO before something bad happens there. Lastly, we can talk about South Pac and Cent Pac. Over at Rabaul, where I accidentally forgot to switch the settings to allow those troops to unload, so those ships are just kind of sitting there this turn. First signs of resistance in the area, 3 Hudsons making an attack on that ARG. They were probably flying out of Rabaul itself, since I did not see a direction leader coming out of that strike on the map. We've landed troops at Venimo, attacked at Cavayang. That base held for now, although by the looks of things it's not going to hold for very long, especially when I have plenty of heavy ships in the area to push us over the top. And we also captured Wewak on the North Borneo coast. In the Central Pacific, of course, we captured Wake. Massive enemy losses there, having all the defenders surrender, so that's a loss of 215 devices, and it only cost us 1, not including the losses we sustained coming over the side of the boat. Really, the only damage sustained in the attack was 1 transport ship that was hit multiple times, so that ship was left burning overnight and will be making its way back to Japan for repairs sooner rather than later. Alright, so that's going to do it. I'm going to get working on the December 14th turn setup, so we'll see you then. Thanks for watching.